Hi everybody. So today we have Choy Kiew and Aileen who are going to share with us their journey in what it took to publish Into the Wild, their very first book on coaching cultures. Okay, obviously can't see it, which is why you have it at the background. Hi Choy Kiew, hi Aileen.
Adrian,
Hello.
hello.
See, we're all decked up in animal prints. Are you bringing out your inner animal?
Yep.
But of course,
We have we have Choy Kiew, who has over 30 years of working experience in senior leadership positions across APAC, Europe, and South Africa. She left the corporate world in 2019 to kickstart a new career as an executive coach. That is such a brave step, Choy Kiew. And since then, she has gotten her associate certified coach credential with the ICF, and she's also a shared leadership team coach with Leadership in Motion. Her partner in crime is Aileen, who has over 30 years of experience in leadership development, organizational development, and talent management. She is an ICF credential ACC as well. She's a Soundwave certified practitioner coach, a Strengths Asia certified strengths facilitator, and a breakthrough coaching enhanced practitioner. So there's a lot of things under your belt, Aileen, given that you just completed your coach training 2 years ago.
yep.
So you
And
really dived into it.
and I can add one more. So I've also completed an emotion-centered coaching program
Wow.
because I keep hearing people say you need to coach the person and you need to understand the emotion. So that's where I got interested and took one program on that as well. Yes.
So maybe share with us a little bit about what this book is about and why you decided to publish Into the Wild.
Maybe Choy Kiew can share a bit first.
Okay. I could start and then Aileen will continue. Well, basically, we wanted to share how creating a coaching culture can work at the workplace. And so this book was actually, in a way, inspired us to share our real life examples. So if you read the book, you hear about Lang, the angry lion, or the wise owl, in terms of how he worked with, or he talked with a nervous colleague. And these are all real life examples that happened at the workplace, and how we could actually bring it all together, because these are like coaching moments in the workplace, and it happens not only for us but also for anyone. And so we wanted to share that creating a coaching culture can happen anywhere at the workplace, just by using a coaching approach. It's not just asking questions, but being present, be able to paraphrase, summarize, just like what we learned, in coach training school. Because in the end, every interaction counts, be it positive or negative. And it's to be curious about the individual, because I think this is what we truly believe in, that there is no difficult person if we choose to take time to understand. So in these difficult times, in COVID times, we felt that it was important to share this view as widely as possible. So that's why we wanted to write the book.
So why the title Into the Wild, Aileen?
Well, I have a few books on my library, home library, that talks about leadership, not by explaining or not by calling out human beings, but by calling out animals like the fish. I had one book called The Animal Ink. And so they use animals, and the story kind of resonates with me, right? So I figured out that maybe it's easier to write through the lens of an animal because they have unique characteristics that people can relate to, regardless of culture or nationality. So it's in a way our approach to diversity and inclusion, if we can call it that way. Right.
Yeah.
So it appeals to people without saying, oh, they're talking about Asians, they're talking about Westerners. So I thought that was one. Into the Wild, because we always hear people say companies are like a jungle. You have to fight your way through, right? So we thought, okay, the jungle sounds quite nice. So that was a story setting. And then one thing led to another. We found a friend who is a zookeeper at the Wildlife Reserve of Singapore to educate us on the characteristics of different animals, the intricate characteristics, which led us to identify these specific animals that are listed in the stories.
Oh, wow.
So there was some research done behind it.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Not just random choice of animals.
And I like how you called it out as it is, right? You know, people talk about the corporate world that way. It's a jungle, you got to survive, and you just called it out with the title of your book. Who would this book be for?
It's primarily for corporate leaders. And because the reason is, it speaks to the heart of the challenges that individuals have. As a coach, when they come in with issues and challenges, what do they talk about? It boils down to relationships, how they work with colleagues, how they have a difficult boss whom they do not know how to manage, and so they leave the organization. So you're leaving an organization not because of the great work that the company is doing, it's because of a difficult boss or a difficult colleague. Instead of knowing that there are skills, you can learn skills and ways to manage yourself, manage your boss, coach your boss, and do it in a way that is really respectful and caring for the individual. So this speaks to the heart of everyone actually who works. But of course, it also speaks to the CEO in the organization if he wants a culture where people stay, people enjoy working, people are motivated to learn and motivated to grow, meaning going through some pain before they actually grow. This book will speak to anyone actually. And going a bit further, I mean, when they go home, they don't just leave the angst or the pain at the doorstep. They also bring it home. And so how could they also think about how they could become, be able to create this culture at the home place, at home as well?
You do have you did illustrate some of these moments with some of the scenarios in the book. I remember Olive had a few very courageous conversations.
Yes.
And I like the example that you gave. You know, a lot of individuals feel that they can't impact upwards. I can't coach my boss. I can't, even with peers, it might be difficult, but it's not necessarily true. And your book does give very simple ways that coaching conversation can help that.
Yes. And because it's happened and it can be done, so why not do it? Why not share it a little bit more?
Now, so that was that's what the book serves. And I guess you started out already with the mission and a vision of that book, of this book. What did you have to kind of break through to really turn this into a reality, to turn this book into a reality? Because many people are stopped, like you have out of 100 people who have a great idea and have an idea about writing a book, you have like a handful, a very small percentage who actually act on reality to make it happen. And it's not because they're bad or they're lazy or they're inadequate, but there are a lot of considerations that go behind a book. Who am I to write one? What should I write about? Which are questions I want to ask you guys. Oh no, there's an investment, which I understand is not little, right? So there are all these considerations that what made, the both of you kind of propel through and go, we're doing this?
So I guess it comes down to the fact that there were three of us in the company. So there's a partnership of three. And so with the idea, it didn't start with the book in mind. We started trying to brainstorm what the three of us can do if we want to kind of push forward for a coaching movement, right? And because of all the brainstorming, something kind of surfaced out. And that was the word wow. It just kind of, you can almost see the word lifted up, the four alphabets lifted up from the flip charts as we were doodling what was going to be our business plan. And then we all got excited because we said, okay, we got a brilliant story for the business. How do we go and tell the message to the world? And then the idea was, okay, we have to write a book, because the book was the best way, right, to kind of bring the message out there beyond Singapore. Then, of course, we got almost stopped in our track because, it's a fearful thing to write a book. So maybe that was when I stumbled across a webinar that had all local authors sharing how they started writing a book. And then there was supposedly a program that teaches authors who want to be an author. So I told my partners, hey, come on, maybe we should just jump on this program and then learn from it. Maybe that will push us to it. So that was probably a big component to getting the book into its print form, I should say. Yeah. Like you can share the journey.
It was, I guess that was it, because we were discussing and we had some chapters in mind. So when Aileen brought up the course, they were saying, should we go for it? But we went for it. And I think that was the deciding factor, in the sense that we decided to go with this company, publishing house, because we liked the way they presented, we liked what we learned, and we got a lot out of it. So, and it again, Aileen alluded to it, it's the power of three. So 3 of us sharing costs, sharing the pain, sharing everything together. It was so much easier, sharing ideas too. So it's like building on each other's ideas, and getting different views, being open, being transparent about our views, and really having great dialogues together. So all these worked, and it was, I guess the beauty of it was that we are coaches, so we knew how to respond. And sometimes it was not easy, sometimes it was really easy, but we got together always, and we knew what we wanted to achieve. So it was many breakthrough moments, small ones, that led to the book, our first baby.
So I can hear how the synergy of partners is important, teamwork is important, what do you call it? Mutual respect is important, and you write off all that to be able to break through the fears that, or the considerations that might pop up. What were some of those considerations? Like, if you could be really honest, what were the conversations in your head about, if I say, write a book?
For me, it was exciting. So Aileen threw up the challenge. So it was like, okay, we write the book. Okay, how? And she said, right, let's do the animal, like a fable. She said, oh, okay. So it was throwing up challenges. So this is one example where, okay, fine. So a moment where it came, okay, fine. So we all like, can we do it? Okay, then let's try it. So it's an example of when that came out. And then when we said, we at one point we discussed that, no, it's not enough to write a fable. We have to have a framework. And then again, the discussion of the wild framework. And again, the ideas from Aileen in terms of how it was. So it's just building on each other's ideas and saying, it's not going to work. Okay, it will work. So it's helping each other, as we discuss, to go through those, I guess, worrisome, I can't think of a better word right now, or maybe those concerning moments that which each of us individually had, the other didn't. So we were like motivating each other a lot, in terms, maybe not consciously, but through what we were saying. It's just like motivating and also challenging each other. So so it was, if I reflect back on our journey, it has been challenging, it has been fun, it has been very fruitful in terms of how we collaborated together.
There are days when we are just off the ground with lots of ideas, lots of things we think we want to say, we want to do. And then after that, after the meeting, we all think about it like, so what's next? What happens if, I suppose it's maybe career hazard, I guess, my previous role, being a facilitator, you always think 2 steps ahead, right? What if your participants ask you a question and you don't know how to answer it? So you need to have an answer, right? So I guess I bring that to the table as well. But challenges, I'm sure we all have. I have, like, imposter syndrome. Can I really write something that people want to read? I guess that's the biggest challenge for me. But is it really worth reading? Is it too simple? Would somebody wants to buy the book? I guess those things help in a way to make it better, to make the outcome better for us. Because by challenging ourselves, we try and see where the value add is for people when they read the book. And I think maybe for us, simplicity is the goal. We try to make it simple. We try to make it fun to read.
How do you even arrive on that this is the topic that you want to talk about? Because you can talk about a lot of things as a coach. So how did you manage to get that clarity and then that commitment to go, this is it?
Maybe I would say that because we talk about coaching culture as a movement, and therefore it encompasses all aspects of coaching, and therefore we don't have to land on a niche. In fact, if you think about it, three of us have different yet overlapping niche areas. And therefore it encompasses all our different experiences. So when you think about it, then maybe that kind of allowed me to put the fear aside, because we're talking about something bigger than just one niche area. But at the same time, it's just, like I said, it's back to the power of we, or back to the power of three, right? That even I may think on certain days that, can we really do it? Then it's up to my friend here, Miss Positive, and our other partner, Adrian, who will kind of say like, yeah, I think we can, we can talk about this, we can talk about that. So they kind of override the conversation and push it down another pathway. And so it kind of diffuses it. We all have, I'm sure we all have, I have the imposter syndrome. They may have something else, but we try, and when it happens, we try and somehow manage to kind of push it aside by talking about something else. Yeah.
I think you highlighted something important here, which is it's important to work with people who are just generally positive, right? They're not blind. Positive people are not blind, but they're positive. They believe in you, or they believe in this key thing, purpose. You talked about, I think, the purpose to the three of you was very clear, right? You wanted a coaching movement. And that, because it's so big, it kind of pulls you out of your SHIT. And together with like your partners also pulling you out at different moments. So would you say that's kind of how you managed to break through those limiting thoughts?
I can build on that because I'm definitely Miss Positivity, but I also love to read. And so when we talked about this book, there were some concerns. Are you sure? I researched quite a bit. And when you look at the literature, ICF has a whole list every year of research done on coaching cultures. But it's data. And then when you look at the books, it's all academic books, Peter Hawkins, David Clutterbuck. So when Aileen suggested the fable, it made sense. So there was a gap, the practical side of really, can it be done? Because these books are so thick and they talk about everything. Could we condense it into something simple and something that people will recognize and relate to immediately, like, the scenes in the book. So that's what we felt. And of course, then we say, okay, let's try it out. No harm, there's nothing to lose, really, in terms of what you can try. And so that started.
Can I kind of pick your brains on what it takes to create a book in the first place?
Okay, the first thing, you have to talk. You have to seek views. So Aileen, Adrian, and me together, having that conversation, having that brainstorming session, it's so important. It was vital, I think, to me, in terms of really getting it started. Because if you don't have someone to talk with, you'll never get started. It's all in your head.
Yeah.
It doesn't come out. And you don't talk about it, you don't share it, it won't happen. So again, the power of three of us working together, and then subsequently with the editor, the publisher, it was fantastic.
What else kind of goes into the before the, getting into the whole process of writing the book? Because Choy Kiew, you also mentioned research. You want to do research on the ICF side, you have books, you found a gap in the market. What else? What else must budding authors, know to do before they actually start writing the book?
It's the passion. You must know that you have a story to tell and you want to tell it. And you tell it in a way that the reader will want. So I guess the cause was very helpful. What do you want the reader to get out of it? Or something to that effect? What's the goal? What's the outcome that you have in mind?
Did you know already your audience?
Yes.
an idea of your audience and what
Yes.
they need?
Yes, very much so in the beginning.
Okay. So which comes first? Is it knowing your audience and what they need, or is it knowing your purpose and what you want, your story?
It always starts with yourself, your story, what you want to tell.
Okay.
But for me, and so that's what we talked about. But then, of course, at some point, what do the readers want? Would this be what they want? And then it just sort of like gets it all together.
Yeah, I guess the purpose is the underlying motivator, I guess, right? And once you have that, then knowing who you want to write for probably will give us some clue as to what format your book will take. Whether it's an academic, it's a fable, it's a factual, whatever form. That is probably the format that you want to reach out to your target readers.
Okay, so let me summarize. So we've heard research. You need to know what's being spoken about this topic out there. You need to know your own story or what you want to talk about. I also hear purpose, mission, vision is important. Like, what is the point of this book? And then the last component would be your audience and what they need. So that's kind of like the pre-planning stage that a budding author needs to go through, right? Okay. So then can you take us through your journey of the actual writing? Like the first thing when I heard you guys are going to publish a book, I was like, how do 3 people write one book? Like, do y'all split chapters? Do y'all, what, how? Tell me, oh gosh, enlighten me.
Maybe it's, I guess we tried a couple of things, right? Tried to write different chapters or tried to have different people write different chapters, try to write 3 of us write the same chapter to choose the best format. But one of the lessons we learned from the course, right, was that we were told and we were warned beforehand, the advantages and disadvantages of 3 authors to a book, which is what is that one voice that will be right, that will run through the entire story, right? So the connection was kind of important because they can't read and feel like
I'm reading.
They were actually 3-person writing.
Talking.
Yeah, right. So we tried different formats and we kind of landed like, okay, maybe we would like to try with one person being the main writer and the rest of us chime in to make it better so that we have one voice, but the one voice relays the stories that was kind of decided by 3 persons, right? And the rest of us will kind of chime in on the language, the sentences, the whatever, just to make it better, right? So that we take into consideration the feedback of that challenge of that one voice, to your point. So that was quite something that we learned, which worked out for us, I guess.
Yes, I must say, reading this book, you don't feel like there are 3 people writing it. It is so smooth. It's so smooth. So I'm guessing Choy Kiew was the one who was the...
Yeah, she was the fastest lah.
the fastest.
Yeah, she was practically typing when we are talking. So she just beat all of us to it.
Okay, maybe I'll share with you the process because we agreed that we'd be, in the end, eventually one writer. So how it worked was, it happened that we were on the course at the same time. So it's like writing each chapter and sharing, and then giving, so every time a chapter is written, is then shared and feedback is given. So that was how it went throughout. And so when the editing process came in again, it's like, alamak, it was painful. The editor gave really very good feedback, which affected my ego lah, basically, in terms of, my gosh, it's so badly done. But again, the power of 3 saying, it's okay lah, it's what we intended, but the writer got a bit carried away, like Aileen said, a bit carried away, pulling us back, and so it's really throughout the process, like Aileen reading the book, correcting, didn't make sense. Adrian also, he's so good with language. So again, it's like, are you sure? And very long-windedness, cut down the sentences and making sense of it. And it's, book writing is not just writing it, it's the whole process. It's the illustrations that we wanted. It's the content. Is it make sense? It's the framework. It's, you know, to actually have a few writing it. I mean, and coming together. So it's not just, I'm trying to say, it's not just writing.
Yeah.
It's the ideas, it's the thoughts, it's the feedback, it's the support, the challenges throughout the process that makes it so, the project so easy to work on. You know, because we are all aligned. And the setting the scene and expectations at the beginning with a very clear direction really helps a lot to bring us back all the time together.
So were there instances where you found yourself kind of almost going off track with the point or the story, or even with the partnership, or even with like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore, it's too difficult?
I don't think it's that way, but maybe I should say that even when we all, as part of the course, we're all writing and then we're all trying out our own chapters, right? And when we decided, okay, maybe we'll just use one voice throughout. Like I said, the story is there. All of us were all online, on point on what the story is meant to say. Maybe I would like to say that when one person writes, the rest of us read it from a reader's perspective. Right? Does it make sense? If I was the reader, would I want to read this? And what does it mean for me? So it's almost, there's a check and balance as we wrote. There's a write, read, check. Does it make sense? And will it appeal? Because some points, you know, sometimes when we read the chapter and says like, yeah, is it really interesting? Maybe we have to make it a bit more dramatic, or is it too dramatic and do we tone down, or what is the message in the story? So it's always that same thing, that even though one voice comes through, the question we all had every time when one chapter is done is, what's the message? What is the takeaway from that chapter? So we had to kind of challenge each other. Yeah. So I think maybe that's the added value of having three of us, is write, read, check on ourselves before the book goes out to print, right? So maybe that's also addressing my imposter syndrome. Really, do we have something worthy to write about?
So for individual authors, then would you say it's important for them to have a group that they can keep going back to for that check and balance?
Maybe let's share, right? So as part of the program that we went on, right, there was actually a follow-up coaching program. You know, it's like your kick-ass program, right? So this one is really a kick-ass, but they call it a Mount Everest challenge. So everybody is going from base camp all the way up to Mount Everest, and Mount Everest means the book is published. And there were like what, five of us, five different authors other than us three as one book, right? So there were supposedly about 5 books lined up. I think one of them decided to in September and October, right? Of that team of Everest climbers, 3 books were launched in the 2 months.
Oh.
So everybody had a budding. So we all had a buddy amongst the class of climbers. So we are there to challenge each other's ideas on the books. Okay, what is your book? I share my chapter, you read my chapter, I read your chapter. What does it look like? So even if it's a single writer, I think if you kind of put yourself in a community of people who are also budding writers, right, it will give you that support. Yeah, so I think that was helpful.
So burning question, what happened to the other 2 books? Are they whatever happened to them? Is it like
published?
So all 5 were published?
3 were published.
Yeah.
The other 2, I think they are still working on it.
Yeah. So what are the common things that would stop people from publishing their book?
Okay, my buddy, her book is not published yet, but my buddy has got lots of ideas. And I think maybe the advice to her is kind of like decide on what is that one idea you want to chase, and then go with it. Because it's like a lot of research, exactly what Choy Kiew said, right? Do a lot of research, talk to a lot of people. And then she had a lot of ideas, and then like, okay, so where does she want to narrow down? So I think for us, to your point, right, we knew what the purpose was, what was it we wanted. So that was helpful for us.
I can imagine it's very easy to be lost. Because sometimes when you write, you have new ideas. Say, oh, maybe I should go this way, which is better. And then after that, you don't know, you get
Yeah.
stuck, and then the whole thing is delayed. What are the top mistakes, common blocks that one faces in publishing a book?
I guess for me, it would have been the editor review,
Mm,
because I think my book is really great.
Yeah.
So here comes the editor saying, wow, something completely reverse. I could take offense and say, who knows better?
Mm.
And that could be a stumbling block in terms of moving forward. You might have written a lot and you stopped. But going back to your question around individual authors, I think when you read the books, you look at the acknowledgement pages, there are lots of people that the authors thank. And so it's actually sharing your chapters with others and getting them to review. And these are family members, close friends, etc. And so my buddy on that program, she was the one who published the book. Actually, same time, she had the launch on the same day as us. And she shared her book, her chapters with a lot of people. And that motivated her to say, no, I will stay the course, because this is an important topic to talk about. It's important to share with others. And so that having that, both the naysayers as well as the positive people, but staying true to your passion, and you know that this book has to go out. I think that really helps, in saying that, yeah. And also to listen, to listen to the views of others, because the editor has so much experience. Why would I not listen to someone who's an expert in that area? So choose people who can share and be open to the views they bring forth. And because we are coming in from just one view, that may not be completely accurate. And when you actually are open to hearing the voice of others, you actually change and realize that they are right. And that's what made our book the way it was. The first draft was not this, but through the feedback and through the view that they said, oh, you guys are coaches, you can take the feedback, no problem. And we did.
Wow, it is, you need to be able to be open to feedback, but you also must know yourself so well that you stay the course. So maybe I clarify a little bit. When you talk about editing, what exactly are they suggesting changes on? Is it primarily the way it's written and the way it's presented? Or do they even go down into your core to say, maybe you're not coming from the right place?
All three.
Really? So you can really be challenged as to
Yes.
the purpose of the book.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And that was fantastic. It was painful. So it was like no response for a month, just to digest it all in. And then after that, yeah, fine, let's do it.
So you have to be ready to lose yourself, basically.
Yes, just like in coaching, right? When you're
in order
coached.
to find yourself again.
Exactly.
Wow. So it really is a form of a transformational journey through publishing a book.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't give up. Don't give up. If you've got something to tell, just don't give up. Just do it.
What else other than writing? So you mentioned it's not just writing. There are a lot of other components like your illustrations, which were really cute. You have the publishing house. And then after that, you need to plan your launch. Like what else goes into this whole book project? So that we kind of clear myths, like people don't go, okay, I want to write a book and they think it's just about writing. What else must they be aware of that makes a successful book publication?
I would say there were other things, like how would people know that you wrote a book? Right? If we didn't do all those things that we did, right? And the program actually teaches you that. So the program tells you that there's more than just writing and publishing. And you need to think about how you want to market the book, how you want to launch the book, where do you want to place the books in, right? Is it only bookstores? Is it on Amazon? Is it on ebook or whatever? How do you tell people about your book? Is it just LinkedIn, social media, or, well, we even had a radio talk show talking about our book, right? So we never thought about it. I mean, I'm sure if you are trying to write your book, you'll never think of all these things. But working with a publishing house that has all that. I mean, they basically were coaches to us on our book writing journey, right? So they basically coached and mentored us throughout the journey. So yeah, we were being coached while writing a book on coaching. If that makes sense, right?
You gotta eat. You gotta eat whatever you preach, man.
Yeah. So really, that was it. So I think that, I mean, after a while, we like that part. We like those part of the activities as well, because once the writing is done with, right, and other than being smacked left, right, and center with the feedback from the editors, we entertain ourselves thinking about all these other fun activities. Like, how do we launch the book? What do we put out on the social media and all that stuff? Yeah, but yeah, those are other things that you really need to think about. And launching the book, we had visions of what it looked like pre-COVID days. Sometimes you go to the library, you go to the bookstore, you see authors signing book. We're thinking like, oh yeah, that's what we want, right? But of course, COVID taught us that it is not always possible. So how do you do it? So we just had to be creative about it.
The choice of a publisher is important. And we own the copyright for the book, which is why we chose this particular publisher. There are others who actually, some other companies, they own the copyright. And there are others that they do self-publishing themselves. So there are many ways to do it. And we did our research, talk to different publishers, talk to different people, authors, on how they have actually published their own books. So the choice was important, and not only that, also the choice of endorsers. We got everyone from all around the world because of our connections with people. So it was really fantastic that, in fact, almost every continent we had a endorser or a someone who wrote the foreword. So we were in a way lucky, again, back to the power of three. But I think all this came together for us in many different dimensions, so that, like Aileen said, you never think of. And so going for that class, that course, really helped us. It's not just the writing, it's a whole lot more that takes away your energy and time as well.
How would you measure the success of your book? When you started out this book project, what to you would have been successful, and how do you measure it?
I guess there are two things. The first was how many people bought our book actually. So we printed 500. We are down to less than 100 now.
Wow.
So it was like, wow, and the orders were really great. So I guess the next step is that we have to, then it's continue to work on that, to actually continue to sell our books. So this is something that we need to do. Second thing is really around people contacting us and asking more. And because we are a partnership, a business entity, it's people to actually say, hey, I want to talk with you. So we have a few who want to talk with us and who are curious about the book. So these are, I guess, two measures of success. Could we have more? Yes, probably, yes. But again, I think it's a fantastic learning experience that we've got now in terms of what we have done and what we could have done more of. But yeah, it's continued to amaze us sometimes in terms of where the book has led us to.
The book was actually meant also to be a vehicle of education on this whole coaching movement, right? And we said that we wanted to write the book to spread the message beyond Singapore. So first of all, having the acknowledgers coming from various countries is one, because we kind of presented them with one copy of the book, and they shared it, and therefore their friends would be aware of it and be buying it. So we are seeing books being purchased from different parts of the world, Europe, US, some people who buy it in local send it to China, some from Philippines are buying it, India and all that. So it is achieving what we hope it will achieve, which is to spread the message out across the world. Small copies, small quantities for now, but we're putting the book out on Amazon, and the e-Kindle version is coming out by the end of this month or early next month. which is what our feedback is coming to us from. People who wanted to buy, they said, oh, we can't buy the print version because some in Europe said, oh, we can't transmit money to buy the physical copy. Maybe if you have the e-version, I can buy it. So we were responding to the feedback, and therefore we're putting out the e-version pretty soon.
And does the publisher help with all this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So they advise us, they connect us to the right people. Yeah.
So how else do you plan to use the book? Because I know some people, what they do is when they run courses, they sell in bundles of the books, right? To the company, you say your participants get this book and stuff like that. How do you plan to use it to open up more opportunities, or to really push yourself out there?
So that's exactly what we thought of. So we started running workshops at some local institutions, and one of the courses that we run, which is on creating coaching culture, we will give the book to the participants as part of the program, right? And obviously to our clients, because we use the framework when we work with our clients, so we give that to our clients as well. So for sure, I mean, you have to walk the talk, right?
And do you feel that being an author now has added to your portfolio, your credibility? Like, what is your experience in that area? Because I know a lot of people write a book because it instantly boosts their credibility, right? I think we spoke about that in the Kick-Ass Business Accelerator. Like, when you publish things, whether it's a paper, a book, a podcast, even in today's world, instantly your credibility increases. So how do you feel about that? Anything open up in that area? Or it could be your own confidence.
I think it does, right? Because when some of my friends, when we start to talking, then she said, oh wow, I saw you posting about your book on LinkedIn, right? So it's like, oh yeah, the first friend amongst my friends who is a real author, a legit author as they call it. So it really makes you, one, boost your confidence, right? And credibility. But two, I think it is, to your point, a calling card. You now have something legit and something credible to speak to them, to bring to them, to the organization that is of value. So yes, I would say it is definitely a calling card, a modern day calling card.
To summarize, what has happened for you since the publication of the book? So you've had your book being bought all over the world, so presence, global presence. You have had opportunities, I guess B2B opportunities. What else? Credibility in your network.
Yep.
Any more? What else has opened up for you?
I think personally it's just self-belief that, well, we can do it. We now know the process. We know the challenges. And even if we all move on to write our individual books, we know what to do. And we know who we can turn to for a bit of support. Yeah.
I just want to add one, and it's the credibility in terms of our knowledge and understanding of what it takes to build a coaching culture. And it's not just one-on-one coaching, it's not just team coaching, it's having a coaching moment, a coaching conversation throughout with anyone. And so that's how, I guess, in writing this book, in writing more books on this topic, this is what we want to share, that is possible. And this is what we would like people to do. So it's I guess personally, yeah, I can write a lot, but the message is important in terms of what we want to bring out to the world. And it's not just well, anyway, I guess I'm very passionate about coaching culture because it impacts us all. And if we understood a little bit more that it's not just asking questions, it's everything else around coaching. That's what we'd like to achieve.
How much must I, if I want to write a book, set aside monetary wise, if I want to publish a book and get my message out there? What am I looking at?
Well, it depends, right? So we had a friend who wrote and self-published his book. So it's almost very low cost, right? I mean, it's just making sure he knows what he wants to write. He wrote it and then he got people to read it. So his editors are actually his friends, his
Okay.
potential readers, right?
Very
So it's
like
almost very low
less than
cost,
1,000, we could say.
probably,
Okay.
maybe. Yeah, but if you want the bells and whistles of what we had with the publisher, it could be more than 10,000.
Okay.
Yeah, but it also depends on what's the quantity you want to print.
And I guess
Right.
the quality of the pages, the book.
Yes, the paper.
right?
So you see the color and the feel of our cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Don't worry, it will smoothen your skin. Yeah. So
Okay.
I think it's just all in. What is that packaging you want?
Whoever wants to write a book, there's definitely research you need to do. How you want to publish, and what's already out there, right? And then you also need to know your purpose and your story or your message, because you got to be prepared to throw that out and get lost in the whole process only to find yourself. We've also talked about support, whether it's through the publisher who ran the course, your buddies, your network, your acknowledgers. So there are actually a lot of people behind the scenes of a book. What else did we talk about? And I suppose get ready for all the other stuff. Like, it's not just writing, your illustrations, you're reaching out to your network, right? To get endorsers, launch events, social media. You need to push that book out. Any more we missed out?
How do you even set up a mechanism to sell your books yourself? that was a bit of a challenge for us, but we pretty much smoothed it out.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean
Well,
by
you need to set up. How do you want to get paid? How do you want to ship out your books to buyers from Singapore or overseas?
logistics?
Yeah, it's like, how much do you price those, and how do you ensure that your buyers get the book as soon as possible? Make sure the books don't get lost in the mail. So those are other things that we had to find out ourselves. We had to learn ourselves.
I don't know how anybody can do this on their own. I mean, to all the solo authors out there, respect. I mean, to have all these on your shoulders is tough. So like what you said, the power of three really helped to spread all that. Right? Responsibility, supporting each other, bearing the cost, bearing the pain, splitting the cost, splitting the pain. But the pleasure is not split, right? It's actually triple.
No, it's triple. The pleasure is definitely triple.
Okay, so any last tips to coaches who might want to publish a book? Words of encouragement.
Start writing now. Just write. Just
Choy
write.
Kiew
Don't say wait. Huh?
Choy Kiew will coach you. You can go and engage her.
Just write. And use your fingers to write. Don't type because it doesn't work all the time. So find any moment, just write it. And when you reflect back on the books, on the pages that you wrote, hey, you got a story. Just write it.
You're saying just write first. Don't get
caught up
with what you write about. Is there a storyline? Is there a Okay.
Just go ahead. And this is, I think, the most beautiful part, because when you write later on, when you come back to it, wow, you've got a story.
Okay, I like that.
Just do it.
I suppose it's the same when you do your podcast, right, Lynn? You do many podcasts. I'm sure you may not even think about a storyline or a series at the beginning, but as you kind of reflect on the collection of your podcast, you actually can say, okay, I can actually put this into a series for this purpose or that purpose. Almost repositioning your podcast.
I actually
It
know.
could be the same. It could be the same.
I get stuck at, I need a theme. I need a running theme. I must have there has to be a very clear topic. And which is why up to today I've not written a book, because I don't trust myself to see
so
through
that's
it.
exactly,
do it the other way. Try out the other way. See whether it works.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a bit more synchronous. Like you're saying, just put things out there. Don't get caught up in myself. Put things out there and then let the dots join each other.
Yes.
What would you say is important in terms of a partnership? So the three of you, like a little bit of a backstory, how the three of you met, and And what's important for a partnership to work? Because the three of you did work together to publish a book. It's not easy because you have three different egos, characters, many points of view. So share with us that whole experience.
Roller coaster ride. If that makes sense. I mean, to tell you that it is smooth sailing, to tell you that smooth sailing is lie, right? I mean, you said to yourself, there are three of us, three very different individuals. It cannot be totally smooth sailing. Right?
So did you have like conflicts? Did you fight it out at certain times?
We didn't fist fight out, but we definitely had to call time out. At certain moments to say, hey, no, it's just not working now. Whether is it the book or just the three of us working together, right? I mean, there are just days when it's just not working out. So if you remember ICW 2020, Lynn, when you brought us in together, right? You had all our Friday meetings.
Yeah.
About, how do you put the whole event together, blah, blah, blah. And the Friday meetings hasn't stopped since ICW 2020. Wow. It has been going on till now. It was actually because of that whole boredom of what else do I do on a Friday morning if there was no more ICW that got us all started and got us all talking. So we actually continued. We never quite stopped after that. And it led to what it is. So yeah, we talked about everything from the book to the business to anything and everything. Right. So yeah, so on days when things don't work out as smooth, we had timeout sessions. So yeah, I think I would really say it is a roller coaster. Like in all businesses, right? It has to be a roller coaster. It's just how many times it goes down and how deep it goes down before it comes back up again. Yeah.
I agree. And I think it's gone deeper to a level that we understand each other. So which is why the last few words in the book is there's no difficult person. We all seek to be understood. And we all have our views, our values. We all want to be respected. And that is to understand where we're coming from. Because without those roller coaster deep down moments, we won't be where we are today. And that's, again, a risk that we took. We know we would get there. But again, the power of us being so different and us having coaching experience, we can come out of it to be better persons. And as I mentioned just now, we're open with each other. And we trust that we did one session where we were very aligned in terms of our purpose for the company and for what we wanted to do. That was like an aha moment for us. Yeah, it's okay. We are different. We respect that we are different. We will never be the same. And we don't want to be the same, but we have a common purpose and we strive to achieve success.
Which is what you talked about.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, that's what happened to the company.
Yes.
Well, if I were to summarize, I think your whole adventure is really into the wild. Like, it's not only the topic of your book, but it's the journey that the three of you had to take on as well. In terms of the partnership, in terms of the process to get the book out. And it sounds like there's a lot of personal inner work and transformation that goes hand in hand with this.
For sure, yes.
Wow, okay, so to the budding authors out there, coaches, if you want to launch a book, there's a lot of things for you to chew on. But I think the primary question is, are you ready to embark on this journey? Right? And because if you can, now that you know all this up front, and if your answer is yes, it's highly likely that you will get your book published and it would be successful. Thank you, Aileen and Choy Kiew, for sharing your knowledge, your journey, your experience, your wisdom, your tips, your honesty with what happened behind the scenes. Thank you so much for all that. Any last words?
Enjoy the journey. It's fun. You will grow a lot.
Just do it.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
All the best for your book.
Thank you.